But modern schools, what do they produce? Obedience. That's their product. You must obey. Because if we can get you to obey any bully or submit to any bully as a child, you're not going to fight us when you're an adult. So schools aren't doing it. It would be much better, by the way, if that Christian who's teaching out of the Bible, if he taught his child nothing else other than that, it would be more useful than most people who graduate from school. The myth of gold and silver, I don't have time to get to that one, unfortunately. We're going to have a whole discussion in one of the later sessions on gold and silver. But I want you to understand the last one. Inflation hedging is not investing. You're hedging inflation, that's it. Investment versus speculation. If you're going to produce quality of life, you have to understand the difference. Investment adds quality of life by using capital, expertise, trust, contacts, whatever. I know how to do something and I can help this young guy do it, run his business. I'm going to put in my energy and my time and my money and I'm going to help it grow, and that's how I'm going to make money. Not by saying, I'm going to loan you the money and whether you succeed or fail, I'm going to come back and get it. If you are aware of other religious cultures, you probably understand that that's actually kind of an Islamic idea. Of getting involved in the business and helping it grow is the way to create value in society. And if the Nation of Islam guy did nothing more than teach his child that in school, he would be a better citizen than what we get out of public schools today. But hey, we've got to demonize that religion, because that's not how we want the world to work, is it? Of investing in with yourself. Speculation is an investment parasite. Stay away from those things which are just speculative or hedging. Invest in yourself first. Develop those knowledge and skills you're going to need to survive that dark age and help us rebuild. Whatever it is you do, even if you're that accountant, even if you're that law enforcement guy, there's something you can learn that will add to quality of life later. We know there's a lot of people in those jobs who have been forced in it because there's no other way to provide for their families. We know that. You're not bad for taking those jobs to provide for your family, but you need to learn something else that's going to be useful, because that on your resume is not going to be good enough. You got to learn something useful. The mythical prepared retreat is something we hear about all the time as a way of surviving a crisis. It's nice to have, but it's not essential. For one thing, it ignores the realities of that tyranny phase. Remember the little plot I showed earlier? When it hits the tyranny spot, they're coming for everything you got anyway. Whatever you store up now is just going to be a treasure trove for them to take. Anti-hoarding laws and class warfare and confiscation and displacement, all those things kick into play here. So if you got a lot of stuff stored up, don't count on it. Because if you could anyway, it would mean that you could retire today. Who here can retire today? If you can't retire today, then you can't store enough to survive. You got to create value when the time comes. And it's impractical for a lot of good people out there who've already had everything stolen anyway. We can't look at that guy that had everything he owns taken from him and say, look, your only chance is to store up, 5 years worth of food. He can't store up a week's worth of food. But he can provide value when the time comes. So don't fear not having anything. Eventually, none of us will have anything. They'll see to that. They'll take it all. And that's just before they die. Focus instead on quality of life strategies. Focus on individual preparation. Commit to these principles of providing quality of life to other people as a way of making a living. Get away from the trickery. Get away from the government job concept. What can I do? What can I learn? How can I be valuable to someone else? That's what it boils down to. Store what you can if you can, but don't worry about it. Accept the idea that you will lose it all. Because if you accept the idea that you'll lose it all and you're okay with that, whatever you got after that's good. It's gravy. It's beautiful. Prepare your mind, your skills, and your attitude. Because knowledge can't be seized, taxed, taken away, deflated. It's good forever. And you can use it forever. And if you need assistance when it happens, be worthy of that assistance. Don't show up and demand something. Show up and say, hey, Mr. Farmer, what can I do to help you that makes me worthy of this meal I would like for you to provide to me and my family? On the other hand, when somebody shows up at your doorstep, say, hey, I need you to help me by being worthy of that meal I'm about to provide to you and your family. You got to understand who the enemies of liberty are. And they've been really good at hiding from us, but they can't hide anymore. We know who they are now. We can see them. We can talk to our neighbors and we can say, hey, are you one of those bad guys? No, you're not going to ask him that. Instead, you're going to ask your neighbor what he thinks about how the world ought to work. And educate him if you can. But if he won't listen, let him go. You can't save everybody because a lot of them don't want to be saved. They want to eat you. Educate them if you can. Let them pass if they won't be educated. Be prepared to strike when the iron is hot. That's a long discussion there. But when we rebuild it, never ever let this happen again. We are at a unique point in history. Never in the history of civilization have we understood the actual issues as well as we do now. When it happens again, let's make sure our grandchildren don't unwrap that genie problem. And one of the ways is to make sure that those ideas get defeated. Those destructive memes, as Richard Dawkins calls them, gets defeated. That they don't get to survive. And there's many ways, there's many innovative ways that those ideas don't get to survive into the next world that we're going to create. Liberty in action. That's what we're about here. We're here for this weekend to figure out what do we do. We may not be able to, we know we can't stop the crisis. I believe that. But what we can do is shape what happens next. So let's spend our time this weekend talking about those things that we're going to shape, how we're going to make it different later. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, I appreciate that.
I mean, like in the whole thing, the first time we just had we were like driving around the mountains, and was it like we were sitting there talking, and he's like, you know, I can't survive in this world. He's like, when shit hits the fan, man, like we can be awesome, productive people, like,
right? In this
right. Like modern world of like do the grind and invest in speculation and just like all this crap they have going, you know, it's just like I've been waiting for the fall, man. Like, right. And that's like, and everything you said was just awesome. Just the fast, quick crash, and it happen as fast as possible, so we can just get back to rebuilding the right society.
Right. Because we're both doing engineering, and it's like there are no engineering jobs that aren't government jobs. Almost.
That's right.
There are private businesses, but they're so involved with government. There's nothing you can do about it. Right. And so it just.
And even on that, engineering is one of the most prevalent. I mean, like the regulation on building buildings or making dams or boats, man, it's all regulated anyway. So it's like halfway in the pocket, just. I'm gonna get to red lights.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Steve, thanks,